Hi, everyone. This is Julie Teal at TTS Company, and I want to welcome everyone to the Leadership and Retention Lab. And we're beginning a new series. I'm starting to bring in CEOs and business leaders to talk about one of the most important responsibilities of leadership, building organizations where people want to do great work and choose to stay. And today is about leadership, culture, people, and the lessons we've learned along the way. And I am so happy to have Troy Solis with me today. Troy and I met through networking and through that built a relationship, and now he is my managed service provider, so we are actually working together, and I've enjoyed Troy so much, and I wanted to have him be like our inaugural kickoff to this series of talking to CEOs. So Troy, if you want to say, let the audience know a bit about who you are and your business.
Yes, my name again is Troy, and with the company called Solis Technology Solutions, we provide a managed security and managed IT services to small businesses, particularly small businesses, because they're the ones that are mostly not in tune with what the cybersecurity landscape looks like out there for them, and they're the highest targets that are being attacked today. And my goal is to help small businesses understand their risk and then mitigate that risk as much as possible.
Absolutely. Well, and it was important for me since I'm in human resources and often getting, important information from businesses about employees and information that needs to stay confidential. That was why I felt really motivated to get your help and to make sure I'm building a business that has that foundation in place. So it's been great working with you and the team to get that set up. It's been excellent. So,
Awesome,
and I have
awesome
to
to
laugh.
be a teammate with you.
Yeah, no, it's been great. It's been great. And we had a little bit of like technical issues getting on today. And I just love seeing you in action, like troubleshooting. You were like on it. The focus was there. You're like solving this problem. So it was fun to see you in action again. So
Thanks for your understanding and
oh,
patience.
no problem. No problem. Well, where I wanted to start today is, one of the things I really believe in is that leadership starts with leading yourself before you can effectively lead others. So it's kind of an inside job to begin with. So what I wanted to start off as far as questions go is this idea of how do you continue to grow as a leader and kind of manage yourself through the challenges of growing a business, leading a team, those sorts of things.
I think, and personally, I think it starts with understanding yourself as a person, what
Mhm.
your core beliefs are, or and really stay and be more in tune with that to help you understand how you're going to lead your team. And being ex-military and all, I've learned a lot of leadership skills and such. And I think over time, that's my core thing, is to understand who I am and believe who I am and my why and what I'm doing for the business and for my clients. So
Sure. Well, and I have often, I mean, being in the US military, thank you for your service, by the way. It's really, I mean, that is one of the best places to learn about leadership. Honestly, I think the military provides more leadership training and more leadership experiences than probably any other organization. So I mean, how do you feel like that experience has shaped your approach to leadership with your team?
oh, tremendously. There's a lot of mottos in the military, it seems, and my team is very important to me. I care about them a lot, and I think every team, leader should care about their employees. I think that my understanding of their lives and their position and their current issues may be may be personal or business
Mhm.
related. um, Trying to stay in tune with that as a person, not as their boss,
Mm.
to
Mhm.
help them feel comfortable in relating and communicating things to me, and at any point of time, not really whether it's through an actual team meeting, or if it's a being just hanging out having a beer somewhere with my team. That's I want them to feel like I trust them and they trust me.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and some of that, I think there's something about breaking bread together that really does make you
Yeah.
connect. Like I know some of our early meetings were, over lunch or, having a coffee together. And there's just something different about, again, that experience of sitting down across the table and having a conversation. So it
Mhm.
sounds like that's been a piece of how you approach building your team is through those connection points.
And I think having a guideline to start with employees, being that employee handbooks or whatever you want to call those. I have something similar to an employee handbook, but it's kind of like more of a guideline to expectations as well. Not in addition to the handbook, it's a guideline to expectations on how they handle themselves. Dress
Mhm.
codes and all that is all maybe handbook stuff, but how I do things and what I expect out of them is a different set of document where they more relaxed but yet fun, but yet you know, just kind of real direction outside the handbook, you know?
Sure.
The
Yeah.
handbook is there for a reason, but also there's the other document that I use, so
Well, and that's again, as we've gotten to know each other and I got to see your kind of company philosophy statement. It's almost like a combination of philosophy and values. And you've kind of written that all down. And that's part of your philosophy that every employee gets to see and understand. Has are there beliefs or principles behind that are important to you in how you lead the organization and people? Like, if you were to share a couple of like, what are a couple of values or a couple of principles that really make a difference in how your team runs?
sure, sure. Well, one of the mottos I use quite a bit is "Find a way or make one," and that it was originated
Ooh, yeah.
the U.S. Navy Admiral Robert E. Perry, which was a ship I was on, the USS Robert
Okay.
E.
Okay.
Perry. He was one of the first explorers to reach the North Pole, and his motto was, "We're going to find a way or make one." And
Uh-huh.
I truly believe that persistence is important, and as a service provider, and
Mhm.
being resourceful about how you're going to resolve any issues, whether it's a cybersecurity attack or if it's just fixing your docking station to your laptop that's causing performance issues like I experienced today. Well, we're going to
Yeah.
figure it out. So, I think that persistence with my team, setting that example as for
Sure.
myself, um, and showing my team that we need to do what we can to resolve the issues. Don't just brush it
Mhm.
off as we're done after you get them to a point where they're just working. There might be an
Mhm.
ongoing issue that you need to dig into, and you need to find a way to fix it and make a long-term fix for that issue.
I
So,
I think that's a great takeaway. I mean, this idea of find a way or you gotta find a way. Yeah,
mhm.
there's a lot of ways to solve a problem. If one doesn't work, try another. Absolutely. That persistence is really important. And I've experienced that with you and your team. So, I mean, I can say that is something that your team has embraced and I've experienced. So, like, as you build a culture within your organization, culture doesn't happen by accident, like how you build your team. And how would you describe the culture you've intentionally worked to build? Like, again, clearly persistence is a big piece of it. And what have you done to reinforce it? And I mean, again, especially if you bring in a new person, like, how do you make sure they understand, how the team operates, what you expect, that sort of thing?
Sure, sure. So we're only trying to hire experts, and mm,
Mhm.
in the military, I really learned that I don't like to babysit. And so, especially with those that are trained in the same ways that I have been as a leader, not just as a leader, but as a technician or um,
Mhm.
whatever you want to call us, technical types. We all may not have. I mean, we are like in the Navy, where some were experts at radar systems or telecommunication systems or
Mhm.
um, so I was, an expert in two different areas. Well, now we as a company are, posing ourselves as or presenting ourselves as experts in cybersecurity
Mhm.
and managed IT. So we all need to demonstrate that through expertise of our own and so training is important, and then consistent, being able to ask questions when you need to ask questions and be
Sure.
able to admit
Sure.
that you're not right all the time. Um,
Mhm.
so the culture I've tried to develop is to be more open and relaxed and have fun fixing things, but
Mhm.
yet understand that I'm very flexible in a lot of ways, and maybe
Mhm.
too much to a fault, but I think that, trust first and then verify needs to stay, in check,
Mhm.
and
Sure.
so self accountability for myself and my clients, and and my clients too, because they need to be accountable for their security risk,
Sure. Sure.
but for my employees as well to be accountable to making sure that we're doing the right thing for all of our clients. So by demonstrating that as an employer, I'm hoping through conveyance and in a natural
Mhm.
example type way, set an example that helps my employees do better when they're working too, and I think it does. Um, the reality is that it's hard. You may have people are not perfect, and I have a lot of
Yeah.
flexibility with that understanding. But that whole checks and balances piece needs to stay in place so that we can make sure we're all in line with how we perform and how we operate in
Mhm.
front of our customers and to our customers over the phone, or communications is key. So we have to be able, and we have to communicate all the time in order to be effective. When that communication breaks down, whether it's because of us or through our customer,
Mhm.
lack of response,
Sure.
ghosting, a new
Yeah.
term,
Yeah.
ghosting now, that's a real thing. And so, communication paths, these days are very hard to keep up with. You've got
Mhm.
Zoom, Teams, you've got all these other, email, and then email support through our support help desk through or window, our form through the website. Those kind of things. It's just constantly coming. So keeping up with that and
Mhm.
communicating through one method back in return,
Mhm.
is key. But people need to understand that we're trying our best out there as a technical team,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's really hard to communicate to everybody all at once, and we do our best to do so, but
Mhm.
we are 100% concerned about being not just accurate, but quick to respond and quick to um, effectively, resolve the issue. So, um, and communications is key to that. So
It's
that
huge. Yes,
communication to the employee
exactly.
as an
Exactly.
employer is important too. Being able to be candid, and be able to receive candid feedback from my employees,
Mhm.
and be able
Yep.
to give candid feedback to my employees without being
Sure.
rude or disrespectful, of course, is so key to communications within our team. So,
Sure, sure. Like I know that a lot of in the work I do with leaders, lots of times we talk about how important it is to replace yourself. Like as someone who's an owner of the business is growing, and you have to be thoughtful about the work you do and the work you hand off. Like you have to, over time, move things from you to your team so that you can continue to grow the business. I guess how do you, if you have any examples of something that you knew you needed to hand off, it was hard to hand off, anything?
mhm.
I mean, this idea, because I think the struggle's real. I mean, when you build a business yourself, and I know how strongly you are connected to your clients and their success, it can be a little hard to hand work off sometimes to your team. So talk to me a little bit about, has that been a struggle? How have you kind of successfully handed, responsibilities to other people on your team and gotten comfortable with that?
Hire the right people. Um,
Okay, okay.
Hire the right people, put the right person in the right place, and give them the right
Mhm,
responsibilities. Um, the the reality is if I'm going to be holding them accountable to something, they better know exactly what that is. And I
sure.
struggled with that at first as an employer. I had that whole mindset of not liking to babysit people. I wasn't hiring the right people. I wasn't,
Oh, okay.
and therefore I also wasn't communicating everything properly. So that's
Okay.
a lose-lose situation right there. So, I always take accountability to my employees' performance and their actions and such. Um, I will, as the captain of the ship, so to speak, we should be. And I think that it's important for them to understand that I'm okay and my flexibility will help them grow into their position effectively. However,
Mhm.
nowadays I need to make sure they understand what that looks like. And
Mhm.
be able to pass that on, I need to hire experts and I need to be able to trust them. And yet they are I've been able to, hand it over and say, you know what, I don't have to do that job anymore because I
Sure.
trust them now, but as long as I hand it over properly. So,
Absolutely. So it sounds like there were some hiring lessons in there. Are there you've had a few of those. I think everybody has. I mean, this is a common experience. So yeah. So what lessons have you learned, I guess, about hiring?
even though you have policies in place, like I have a code of, the other document I have is called the code of conduct. Um,
Mm,
and those kind of policies in place that may be slipping. What I've learned is you need to communicate with your customers
mhm,
to ask them, how are we doing as how's your primary technician doing?
mhm.
And they will, ask them the right questions and give you feedback about what's actually being experienced
Mhm.
versus what's actually being done. So that's a good accountability step right there for me to keep on
Sure.
track. Um, check in with your employees more often than you think, whether it's on this, once a week scheduled meeting or if it's random, you
Mhm.
know, you just call them and just talk with them about things that maybe they have concerns about. And, you don't need to actually have hey, I'm going to ask you a couple questions and, checklist type conversation. Don't
Sure.
do that. Be more personable, be more open to criticisms. Hey, Troy, you really take accountability when they're actually saying, we need you to do something better. I've had so many
Sure.
employees tell me these things, which is great. And I'm very open to that candid feedback.
Mhm.
Um, but hiring people and through and assuming they're just going to operate properly is a bad thing to do. I did that, early on. So, um, I don't know. There's examples I can give you all day long, but there's not that many. I didn't let go
Sure.
of or fire a lot of people in my 16
Mhm.
years. You know,
Sure.
so I've had
Sure.
a lot of long-standing employees, but still, sometimes complacency can bite you on the butt. So you need to remember to
Sure.
check in with them. So,
Sure. Exactly. No, that constant connection is so funny. I'm a huge advocate for regular one-on-ones, but a lot of teams resist that.
mm,
But you can't build a relationship with someone you never meet with, right? Right.
mm,
And again, communication is best when it's, face to face. So those regular
mm.
connections can make a big difference in addition to all the other things you do to document and communicate and emails and all the things that you have to do anyway. So,
And listen to your employees. Let them speak. I mean, that's and be open to whatever it is they're talking about, and just
mhm,
I think that when they feel heard, they feel connected with you too. So,
absolutely. So
mhm.
one of my questions here is, every leader has moments that reshape how they lead. And can you share an experience, whether it was a success, a failure, an unexpected challenge that fundamentally changed your approach to leadership? So
Hmm.
is there something that kind of
I think
you
knowing that as a business owner, when I was starting, I knew eventually I would be leading a team at some point.
Mhm,
Um, I think that's probably what changed when I decided. I mean, it's hard for me to connect or disconnect my leadership training, or not training, but experiences in the Navy,
mhm. Sure.
versus being a leader in my employment before starting my
Mhm,
business and then starting the business. So that whole, I think the important piece is respect and accountability that I learned from the military.
mhm,
Understanding your job roles and getting your job done, work hard, play hard.
mhm.
there's another one. Um,
Yeah.
but have fun doing it all. If you're not having fun doing
Sure.
it, you're in trouble. Leadership transitioning. I did some study. I did some reading. I worked in the medical device world prior to this, and I
Mhm.
read a book by Bill George called Authentic Leadership, and
Yep.
that really hit me, personally, because that's what I want to be, is authentic with my
Mhm.
employees, myself, um,
Yeah.
and also to our customers too. So
Mhm.
without any regrets, I don't care if I say something, and I'm not a good, I don't verbally speak a lot of big words, so I don't know therefore my writing and my speaking is a little longer sometimes. So when talking about my experience or talking about this, I'm trying to understand, or I'm not talking about this, but I'm trying to realize,
Mhm.
uh, the reality is I'm trying to speak as good as what I can in communications, and that's very important. So
Sure.
and I think that my experiences learning as to be in the military as as a leader was a very hard experience, because
Mhm.
I kept being put in charge of peers that were the same pay grade as I.
Mm.
And when therefore there were always one or two people that would push back on everything, and what's
Of
funny is
course.
I was
Of
only
course.
enlisted, but one of the guys that would give me the most pushback was striving to be an officer in the military,
Okay.
which
Okay.
eventually he did. He stayed in and he retired over 25 years. So,
Sure.
um,
Sure.
which is great for him, and I respected the guy. And he was really, really very good guy. But he would
Mhm.
push back the most, and I think that
Okay.
he's wanting to be a leader as well,
Uh-huh.
and there was some ways he was kind of not jealous, but envious of that he wasn't there. Maybe I
Sure.
don't know what I was doing differently. I was just getting stuff done, and I understood the
Mhm.
systems.
Mhm.
I truly believe if you can't fix anything, whether it's a computer, a radar system, or cybersecurity issues. If you don't understand how the systems work and how they
Mhm.
work together, different systems even, and how they integrate these days with
Yeah.
APIs and all that stuff.
Oh gosh, it's
If
so
you don't
complicated.
understand all that stuff, you're going to be in trouble. So systems of technical stuff, systems of management and leadership, and organization structure and all that. That's all
Mhm.
systems. If you don't understand
Sure.
that, I didn't at first, and it took me a long time to realize my leadership is built on, I would say, the Navy. The Navy
Yeah,
got
it
me
sounds like it. I mean,
very
those
structured.
are those
Yeah.
were critical experiences. I mean, that really built how you view how to lead teams and how to be successful, it sounds like. I mean, it
Yeah.
really influenced you in a
Yes.
major way. Absolutely. Absolutely. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about, just this is adjacent to leadership, but I know that you made a strategic pivot with your business, which really struck me when we were getting to know each other. At one point, I think you went from it's the addition of the cybersecurity, kind of embracing and leaning into cybersecurity as a major offering for your business. And I
Mhm.
think it would be helpful for leaders to understand a bit around strategic pivots too, because I'm sure that influenced who you hire as well. You need deeper experts if you're providing a more deeper technical support. So
Mm.
if you could talk a little bit about that, that's something that I found interesting as I got to know you better.
Sure, sure. So, well, starting the business back in 2016, I really didn't know what I was going to do, other than I wanted to manage business or my clients' systems,
Sure.
um, be the best I can be at it. Now, my business
Mhm.
then turned into managed services, which helps
Sure.
a lot of things efficiently, and more in a structured way. And um, but back then, the core things you had to have in place, besides an operating computer or
Mhm.
server that stays online, is backups, a good antivirus that is up to date and
Sure.
maintained well, um, a good keeping your computers up to date and keeping them new when required. Um, on the server side of things, to make sure you have your security settings, configured right, and
Mhm.
make sure it's performing right, make sure you have plenty of storage and all that, the basics. A good firewall, a good backup
Mhm.
thing, and test those backups. And so, generally speaking, before viruses started hitting hard,
Mhm.
was pretty much what you needed. Then viruses started hitting hard. I remember the I love you virus back in 20, what is it, 2023? No, 2021. No, I'm sorry, 2001. And
Okay.
that was my first experience in trying to get rid of that attack. And I was doing it
Sure.
at the kitchen table at my sister's house. Um,
Okay.
because my dad had died that day during
Oh
that year,
god.
and we were, getting ready to bury him. And so I did that uh, remotely, but the point of that is it's changed a lot.
Mhm.
You get more, ransomware or malware started, and over time, attacks started happening. I remember
Mhm.
my first current, and it's a current client even. The first person that got hacked or attacked by ransomware, I was like, "Well,
Oh.
this is new," So things started changing a lot.
Yeah, the environment changed.
Yeah,
Yes.
talking with other providers in
Mhm.
2018-19 timeframe, they had told me stories on how their clients were suing them, or the insurance provider was coming after them for um, after their client was attacked. Nobody wants to pay that money, or they want that money back, right?
Sure.
So the reality is there's risk. There's business risk to my clients,
Mhm.
business risk to my business, and so I decided to stay in the business on with
Mhm.
the intent of helping small businesses become more resilient to cyber attacks.
Mhm.
Because nothing is perfect, but if you're
No.
doing nothing, you're not going to have a great experience at all. So, how small business owners are my clientele and always will be, because that's by choice. I
Mhm.
don't I'm not targeting any specific market. I'm targeting
Mhm.
small businesses because they need IT services and cybersecurity services just the same as any large company does. Whether it's, a
Mhm.
company of 30, 40 people up to 250, 300, 1,000 people, you're going to
Mhm.
you should have good systems in
Yeah.
place to mitigate
Yeah.
your risk. But I had current clientele that I needed to have that conversation with.
Mhm.
So when I decided to stay in business and not sell, I'm going to and set a goal and a mission. I had to do it first with my current clients. So
Mhm.
there was a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of you're just increasing our pricing. We don't need cyber uh, anything. We're fine as we are. So
I'm
the
sure
messaging
that was tough to communicate
is
and,
very tough.
because I think people understand it better today, but at the time, you were at the very early part of cybersecurity becoming part of our daily life.
Yeah, well, I was actually behind slightly, but not terrible. But the reality
Okay.
was
Okay.
things change all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
you cannot keep up with it unless you're trying to do it all
Mhm.
the time. So,
Sure.
we really need to understand that risk is out there, and with the current any
Mhm.
any company can be hacked at any time. Um, Small businesses, especially.
Mhm.
I get
Sure.
my calls from businesses that, I don't have any IT support, but we need you to come fix our computer. That's fine, but how do you feel about your risk today with with the
Sure.
environment that we're dealing with? Converting clients was hard. Got that
Mhm.
conversion pretty much done. Not quite done yet because
Mhm.
it's pushed off and pushed off. We haven't lost them yet, but reality is, at some point, if they get hacked, I have tried. Um, we put out what we call a risk assumption letter, stating that
Mm.
we offered these things to you, and you've
Yeah.
declined all or a portion of it. So, if we are not able to do our best through
Mhm.
financial means, we
Yeah.
understand. Doesn't mean we have to not work with you. It just means that we need to have a standard base of services to
Sure.
provide that is going to mitigate the risk via the most important parts, like
Mhm.
email systems, like in your
Sure.
computers, your mobile devices. Baseline that security, but yet all the extras like a password manager tool or like a VPN of some sort or a
Mhm.
SOC. I'm going to go technical on you with a SOC and a SIEM and all these other things. Those are really good to haves.
Mhm.
To reduce costs, we got to reduce if we may have to pull something out or two or
Sure.
5 things, and therefore will also bring up your risk. But so I don't want to assume your risk. I need you
Yeah.
to assume that risk, understanding
Mhm.
that we can do anything for you. However, I don't want your risk unless you're going to pay me for it. And I'm
Sure.
sorry to say
Sure.
it that way, but we're the
Yeah.
experts. We know what we're doing. And we really want our clients to be confident in what we're doing for them and go
Mhm.
about their day and get things done. So,
No, that's great. That's great. Now, quick lightning round here. Just a couple of fun questions for you as we get closer to the end of our conversation here. So, coffee or tea? I think I know the answer.
mm, mm. Latte, no sweetener, or black coffee straight.
Okay. Very clear order. Yes. I was going to ask you your favorite leadership book, but I was that Authentic Leadership or something different?
Yes.
What's your favorite
Yes.
leadership book? Is that it? It's a
Yep,
favorite of
that's the
mine
one.
too. I just love that you mentioned that. That was a meaningful one for me too. What's the best career advice you've received?
Whoa. That's a tough one. I don't think I've ever received career advice other than,
Oh,
I'll tell you what it is. I joined the Navy. He says, whatever you do, do something technical. What I do, I failed
okay.
the FAB test and got the worst job you can ever get. But
Oh,
over time in the military, I ended up getting the job I wanted. So that was
I
technical.
love that. So
Yeah.
dad was behind the move into what you're doing today. I think
Yeah.
that's great.
Mhm.
Um, what's one leadership habit you never skip? Is there a habit?
Hmm. No habits. Not really.
Okay.
I don't have any habits, I don't think. Um,
Okay.
I
No,
think just keeping in tune with my team. I don't I
sure.
do sometimes, we have weekly event meetings, but at least checking in on the side from time to time.
Sure. Sure. So those regular check-ins are
Mhm.
critical. What are you currently learning? Is there something that you're exploring, learning more about? Is there a topic?
Marketing.
Okay. Yes,
It's
marketing, I understand.
it's much
So
it's much harder than people think. So,
yes, agreed. And last one word your team would use to describe you? What's one word do you think they would describe you as?
mm, my team they would say I'm late.
Oh, okay. All right, okay. But
I
predictable, right?
Yeah, I'm late.
But consistent.
I always wanna get everything done now, and I just can't make it happen. It's just so hard.
Yeah,
So,
I understand, I understand. Final question, if you could leave leaders with one piece of advice about leading their teams, what would that be?
mhm. Without being too repetitive, I would just say listen to your employees, um,
Mhm,
be open to their feedback,
mhm.
and be real about trying to do better for your team.
Yeah, good, good. And then that's wraps up our conversation today. Thank you so much, Troy, and
Thank you for
if
having me.
people wanna get a hold of you and learn more about managed services and how you support them, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, the best way is to call me direct. You can reach me at 952-279-2424 and ask for Troy.
Wonderful. And if you're interested to learn more about TTS Company and the HR services we provide, the most exciting thing we're doing right now is we're in the process of getting ready to launch the Vault, which is a online leadership development community where, a lot of the topics that we talked about today, we provide training, support, and a place to ask questions. So really would love you want to check that out. Again, you can get a hold of me through direct messages on LinkedIn as well. So thank you so much, Troy. I appreciate it. And we'll see you soon. And we'll continue this series and bring in other leaders too, to have leadership conversations and learn from leaders. So thank you so much.
I appreciate the opportunity.